I knew I was forgetting something. I'm like, what am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? It was the mic. But hello again. Yesterday, I went to the DPS station and I took the Texas Special Requirement CDL test, passed it, and I took the just general knowledge test, passed it as well. Then I went to take the air brakes test, which I was so confident that I would pass that one without even thinking about it for real. I failed. So I'm back here and I'm going to do some more practice tests. And I was thinking about going back today to take the air brake test, but I also need to take the passenger test and the school bus test. And I only want to go down there one more time. I don't want to go past the air brakes and then fail the other two. So I'm going to do some more practice tests. And hopefully tomorrow I'll go down there and just get everything wrapped up and get my permit. And then Friday, I'll go get a job. So let's do this thing. The hat was just for the intro. Thankfully, I don't really have much hair for the hat to mess up, so the general knowledge test, I just barely passed. It's a 50 question test, and you got to get 40 right. And the last question, I had 40, no, I just barely passed it. That's the main point. I got 10 wrong, which is the absolute limit. Like, you can't get more than 10 wrong, or else you fail. So, when I got to the last question, I knew I had already gotten 10 wrong. So, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And success. I got the last answer right. So, I passed the test. And then I was allowed to take the air brake test, like I was saying, which seriously, I thought I would pass that test no problem whatsoever. See what overconfidence gets you? Complacency, confidence, ego, all of those things. They got in my way. So now I'm back here in front of you, licking my wounds, so to speak, and taking more practice tests. I bet I'm going to get 100% on the practice test. And it's going to be like, what the blah, 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 blah. No, no, I doubt that. That was the confidence, complacency, and ego kicking in. Air brake test one. Let's do it. Let me get my monitoring phone out. It might be dead. While this boots up, I can do this. By this, I meant my mustache. Oil and water usually collect in compressed air tanks. If you do not have an automatic tank drain, when should you drain your air tanks? After every day of working. What is the S-cam used for? To release the brakes, to test the slack adjuster, to apply the brakes. It's either to apply or release. Mm, mm, I'm gonna say apply, but I could be wrong. Okay, I got it right. I knew the S cam was extremely important, just didn't know which direction. Is it to let you go or make you stay? It's to make you go. No, to make you stay. To release the brakes would be to let you go. To apply the brakes would be to make you stay. S cam helps apply the brakes in an air brake system. Which of the following makes the total stopping distance for air brakes longer than for brake lag? The brake system that applies and releases the brakes when the driver uses the brake pedal is the emergency brake system, the service brake system, the parking brake system. It's the service brakes. To make an emergency stop with air brakes using the stab braking method, you should pump the brakes, pump the brake pedal repeatedly and lightly. No, stabbing you. Whenever you got someone coming at you with a knife and you got a knife as well, do you lightly stab them or do you stab them? You stab them. Just in case you didn't know. If you're getting attacked by a knife and you have a knife, don't gently stab the other person. Let them have it. Oh, yeah. Is this dead? No, it's not. That's good. I think so far I've gotten them all right. This is the moment of truth. We'll see. Usually I got one person here watching me the whole time. Not today. Not yet. Yeah, it's afternoon. Usually I do mornings, so it makes sense that they're not here. To make an emergency stop with air brakes, using the stab braking method, you should pump the brakes repeatedly and lightly. Brake as hard as you can. Get off brakes when the wheels lock. Get back on the brakes when the wheels start rolling again. Brake hard until the wheels lock. And then get off the brakes for as much time as the wheels were locked. You do it? It's B, right? Okay. Man, like, if you do it for the same amount of time that the wheels were locked, you got a really good internal clock. Brake lag distance at 55 miles per hour is blank feet. 32? Yes. The air brake lag distance at 55 miles per hour on dry pavement adds about 32 feet. If your vehicle has an alcohol evaporator, it is there to rid the wet tank of alcohol that condenses and sits at the bottom. That wouldn't make any sense. Eliminate the need for daily tank draining. No, that wouldn't make sense either. Reduce the risk of ice in the air brake valve in cold weather. I do believe it's C. What can legally hold a parking or emergency brake in position for a truck, tractor, or bus? Fluid pressure, spring pressure, air pressure. What can legally? Spring pressure, I want to say. Correct. All trucks, tractor trailers, truck tractors, and buses must be equipped with emergency brakes and parking brakes. They must be held by mechanical force because air pressure can eventually leak away. Spring brakes are usually used to meet these needs. Like whenever you release I want to say it's the red button on the console of the truck, that stops the air from going to the trailer. And I believe that's what engages the spring brakes. And whenever you push the button in and allow air to go to the trailer, the air releases the spring brakes. The braking power of the spring brakes increases when the service brakes are hot, depends on the adjustment of the service brakes, is not affected by the condition of the service brakes. Hmm. 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 Increase when the service brakes are hot. Nope. Depends on the adjustment of the service brakes. The braking power of spring brakes depends on the braking power and the brakes being in adjustment. If the brakes are not adjusted properly, neither the regular brakes nor the emergency parking brakes will work right. The braking power of the spring brakes depends on the adjustment of the service brakes. I'm pretty sure I got that wrong on the test at the DPS yesterday. So I didn't learn nothing. But this time, hopefully, I will learn. The braking power of the spring brakes depends on the adjustment of the service brakes. That is a true and accurate statement. Which of the following should you do before leaving your vehicle unattended? Set the parking brake, remove the key, chalk the wheel, do all of the above. Do all of the above. Never leave your vehicle unattended without applying the parking brakes or choking the wheels. Your vehicle might roll away, cause injury or damage, and that would be bad. So I'm told. Under which conditions are front brakes good? I know I got this one wrong at the DPS. I said none because I was thinking of a bike where if you only apply the front brakes, you're going to flip over the handlebars. But I think the answer is all weather conditions. I think that the front brakes have been proven to be safe in all weather conditions. Nice. Front wheel brakes have been shown to be ideal under all weather and driving conditions. Front wheel braking is unlikely to cause a skid even on icy roads. Front brake good. Front brake good. Remember that. Front brake good. If the air tanks are not drained, your transmission fluid may drain out. That's weird. I would love to see that happen. I would love to see the person that actually answered that. Watch that be the answer. Your brakes may fail because of water freezing. I know that's the answer. You will drive too quickly. Your left side brake will cause cease to operate. It's because of freezing water. Compressed air usually has some water and some compressor oil in it, which is bad for the air brake system. For example, the water can freeze in cold weather and cause brake failure. Yes, indeed. Because, well, water freezes and it would be taking up some of the volume of the compressed air tank for the brake system. So if you can't get the full 150 pounds of pressure for the brake system because there's ice in there, that's bad. So I've been told. Oop, 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 oop. Gotta get comfortable here. Better read the question. An anti-lock braking system, ABS, increases your normal braking capability, activates when your wheels are about to lock up, decreases your normal braking capability, shorten your stopping distance. I just want to say activates when your wheels are about to lock up. I mean, that it's anti-brake, anti-lock. So it should be like, hey, these are about to lock. Let's make sure that doesn't happen, right? All right, good. Which of the following can cause brakes to fade or fail? Excessive use of the service brakes, not, it's going to be all of the above. Yeah. If the first two answers sound correct, look at the last one. See if it says all of the above. Which is the best to test if your vehicle's spring brakes come on automatically? Continue to step on and off of the brake pedal until the manufacturer's low PSI specification is met for springs to deploy. On single vehicles, continue to step on and off the brake pedal until parking brake valve pops out. On tractor trailer vehicles, continue to step on and off the brake pedal until it's all of the above. I'm pretty sure that's just part of a pre-trip. You're supposed to pump the brakes until the air pressure drops low enough for your yeah, that thing. If your vehicle has a properly functioning dual air brake system and minimum sized air tanks, the air pressure should build from 85 to 100 within 45. The air compressor will stop pumping air into the air tanks at. I feel like this is one I keep getting wrong. because I always say 125, but the answer is 150. I think. So let's choose 150 and see if I'm correct. Because that's supposed to be the maximum, I feel. I think. Incorrect. What? See? See? 125. The governor controls when the air compressor will pump air into the air storage tanks. When the air pressure rises to the cutout level around 125 psi, the governor stops the compressor from pumping air. When the tank pressure falls to the cut-in pressure around 100 psi, the governor allows the compressor to start pumping again. 125, 125, 125, not 150. It'll stop pumping air at 125. It won't pump it up to 150. It stops at 125. Get in there. Get in my brain. Excessive heat caused by overuse of the surface brakes can cause the modulating control valve to wear out, the brakes to fade, the brake lining to split, its fade. Brakes can fade or fail from excessive heat caused by using them too much and not relying on engine braking effect. Excessive use of the service brakes may result in overheating, which can lead to expansion of the brake drums, improper adjustment of the S-cams, increased contact between the brake drums and the brake lining. Expansion of the brake drums, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Brake fade results from excessive heat causing chemical changes in the brake lining, which reduces friction and also causing expansion of the brake drums. Is that because it says the chemical reaction, but is that caused by the heat generated from braking too much? And heat causes things to expand, and it serves to reason that the brake drum is part of the braking mechanism, so the friction would build up there probably more than other places. Yeah. How did I fail this yesterday? A typical air brake system is fully charged at. See, I think this is where I get messed up. Because I want to say it's 150, but the governor shuts off at 125. I'm going to say 125, but I'm going to acknowledge that I may be wrong here. Okay. I don't know where I got it in my head that normal service brakes or just your air brakes in general, the tanks feed up to 150 psi, but it's actually 125. Today I learned, should have learned that about 14 years ago or so. No, 12 years ago when I got my Class A, I I did know it back then. It was just all the drinking I did in between then and now. That's not good either. I don't have any way to make this actually sound good. Maybe I never learned it and I've always gotten this question wrong. That sounds like the most likely scenario. During normal driving, spring brakes are usually held back by springs, air pressure, bolts, and braces. I want to say air pressure, like whenever during normal driving, spring brakes are usually held back by, I think, whenever you apply the air to the trailer or whichever system is using compressed air, it pushes the springs back to allow you to put it into gear and drive. So I want to say air pressure, but might be springs. There's spring brakes, right? But I'm going to say air pressure. Okay. Parking or emergency brakes must be held on by mechanical force because air pressure can eventually leak away. Spring brakes are usually used to meet these needs. When driving, powerful springs are held back by air pressure. During your final air brake check, if the air pressure does not build up fast enough, the air pressure may drop too low during driving. Have the problem fixed after your trip is over. About to go over Cabbage Patch. My brakes, my air tanks ain't going over 85, but here we go. Thankfully, for most mountains, there is a pull off station for trucks to do just this. Check your air brake system before you start to descend. And while you're going down the mountain, there are pull offs that are like, they look like off ramps, only they lead into sand, like lots and 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 lots of lots of sand. I thankfully have never had to pull into one of those because I am a safe driver. I have seen people in there though. I didn't see them go into it, but I saw the aftermath because you're going down a mountain and then there'll be you're going down and then there'll be a pull off ramp for out of control trucks. And then if your brakes are failing, you can take that and, like I said, all the sand. And then there's also like an upward trajectory so that whenever you hit all of that, the gravity will, slow your momentum if the sand didn't do the job. It means the air pressure may drop too low. to, to test the static air leakage rate, you should turn off the engine, release the parking brake, and let the system settle. Charge the air system and leave the engine running. Leave the engine running and release the brake. Pretty sure you should turn the engine off. It said static, which means no movement. No changes. So I want to say A. Correct. With a fully charged air system, typically 125, not 150, 125, turn off the engine, release the parking brake, push in, and turn the air pressure and time the air pressure drop. Air brakes use blank to make the brakes work. Natural gas, compressed air. When you press the brake pedal, compressed air enters the brake chambers. Compressed air is released from the brake chambers, from the air tanks. Compressed air is released from the air tanks. Compressed air is released from the brake chamber. Now, when it says release, because compressed air is released from the brake chamber. That's what I'm going to choose. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. The reason I'm taking a moment to think about it is because compressed air is released from the air tanks too, right? That's how the air pressure drops, because you need air to release the brakes. So an absence of air would engage the brakes. And if there's no air in the air tanks, the brakes will be engaged. Which then would release air from the brake chambers. So, what is it asking? Is it asking just for the very literal air is released from the tanks? Well, no. No? Maybe by compressed air released from the air tanks, that would imply that the valve on the air tanks opens and releases some air, when it's the brake chamber that releases some air to engage the brakes. I'm going to say compressed air is released from the brake chambers, but it could be just asking what happens in general, and in that case, it would be B. But I'm going to answer C. No. What? Correct answer, compressed air enters the brake chambers. Huh. When you push the brake pedal, air is let into each brake chamber. Man, it seems like I just really have a fundamental misunderstanding of how air brakes work. Eh, hmm. And this one, it's like, no! It has an exclamation mark. because I thought the air was entering the system to disengage the spring brakes. But I think the spring brakes are like the emergency backup mechanism. Hmm. Let's calculate the score. 88. I passed. That's good. I'm happy about that. I just wish I had a little bit more understanding on my side. That's always true, though. Let's do the second air brake test. The air compressor governor controls the speed of the air compressor, the air pressure applied to the brakes when air is pumped into the air brakes. Bingo. So see, I have a pretty good general understanding of how the air brake system works. I'm missing a key component though, but I don't know what it is, so I can't find out. I mean, I could watch a video about air braking systems and how they work. That'd be how I find out. We could watch that together. Where are my headphones, earphones? That's not it. That's a hat. Darcy's like, are we going somewhere? No. We're going on a learning adventure about air brake systems and how they work. Yeah, just go. Then go to my channel. Hey, look, it's me. That's the anti-lock.
Did you know semi-trucks use an air system to brake the truck and not hydraulics like most car manufacturers use? Let's take a look at it. There are two types of brake systems used on trucks: the hydraulic brake system and air brake system. The braking itself is then carried out by either a disc brake or drum brakes, each with their pros and cons. Disc brakes are generally considered to be more effective at slowing or stopping a vehicle than drum brakes, have a faster response time, and are less likely to fade under heavy use. However, disc brakes are also more expensive, while drum brakes are used when cost needs to be minimized. Some vehicles also run
In
with disc
America?
brakes on the front axle and drum brakes on the rear axle. But now let's look at the two different brake systems. How do hydraulic brakes work?
Pressure.
Hydraulic brakes use a system of fluid-filled pipes and pistons to transfer force from the brake. How do air brakes work? Instead of using fluid, air brakes, as the name implies, use air to generate stopping power. When the air tanks are fully pressurized, the brakes are disengaged. When the driver presses the brake pedal, air fills the brake chamber, pushing the chamber diaphragm, which turns the S-cam, and then pushes the brake pads against the brake drum or activates the discs, stopping the vehicle. Then, when the brake pedal retracts, the air is released, allowing the brakes to release and the wheels to roll. The compressor on the trucks then increases air pressure back to the system's original state. The downside of air brakes is the possibility of
Brake
leaks.
lag.
However, if the truck loses air, the brakes will activate, which is better than not being able to brake. Also, a buildup of water in the lines can occur. However, the air dryer and drain valves are able to solve this problem, and air dryers even come with heating if you're in freezing weather. Semi-trucks use air brakes because they are more reliable and offer greater stopping power than hydraulic brakes. Air brakes use compressed air to apply the brakes, which is generated by an air compressor powered by the truck's engine. The compressed air is stored in tanks and then released through brake lines to power the brake actuators on the wheels. One of the main advantages of air brakes is that they provide consistent braking performance even in extreme temperatures and weather conditions, making them well suited for heavy vehicles like semi-trucks. Additionally, air brake systems have fail-safe features, such as the brake system can be applied automatically if the air pressure drops too low. Most trailers are also equipped with air brakes, where you are able to connect the air from the truck to the trailer,
Glad
and thus can also
hands.
brake with the trailer's brakes. Also, the air brake system is more reliable. The reliability comes from having fewer parts that can fail. With air brakes, no fluid leaks and no brakes fade from overheating. Air brakes also last longer than hydraulic brakes, so you'll get more miles out of them before they need to be replaced. So, all in all, air brakes are just a better, more reliable, and safer solution. How do air brakes work? Instead of using fluid, air brakes, as the name implies, use air to generate stopping power. When the air tanks are fully pressurized, the brakes are disengaged. When the driver presses the brake pedal, air fills the brake chamber, pushing the chamber diaphragm, which turns the S-cam, and then pushes the brake pads against the brake drum or activates the discs, stopping the vehicle.
Hmm. Hmm. Warning. Before you work on any air brakes, there is a large heavy spring in the brake chamber under tremendous pressure, and it will kill you if disassembled wrong. Hey, kind of like garage doors openers, or, the spring that holds your garage door open or closed. I just know that you don't want to mess with your garage if you don't know what you're doing, because there is a spring that will kill you. Okay, we got a correction. Correction. Air brakes absolutely do fade from overheating, just like hydraulic brakes. It's much more common of an issue with air brakes, in fact. Since they are more powerful, they press the pads harder and heat up faster. They have to absorb a lot of energy to stop a heavy truck. If used too much, the brake drum can expand. Hey, I got that question right. Enough from the heat to make the S cam unable to push the pads far enough. Most runaway truck situations are caused by the driver relying on the brakes too much on a downhill instead of engine braking and overheating the brakes to the point of failure. As mentioned, hydraulic brakes fade too from overheating, but this is mostly seen with sports cars on race tracks. It is why a lot of race cars and supercars have exotic ceramic material brake rotors and can handle higher temperatures. Ceramic's really good at handling high temperatures. I know that just from living that life. But I do want to see, I just want to see some images. That doesn't look that exotic. I don't know what I was expecting to see, but this ain't it, yo. The inertia brakes that we looked up a few days ago, way cooler than these exotic sports car brakes. Of the choices below, the first thing to do when a low air pressure warning comes on is stop and safely park as soon as possible, upshift, adjust the brake pedal for more travel. You stop. Yes. When the low air pressure warning light and buzzer first come on, bring the vehicle to a safe stop right away, while you can still control the brakes. Okay, that makes sense. I used to drive a Volvo tractor and I loved it. It was like really nice. The sleeper, especially, was really nice. There was a manufacturing defect with every Volvo, and it was the gaskets on your air system would deteriorate way faster than they were supposed to. So even if you had a Volvo that was 7, 8 years old, these gaskets could already be failing. And oh boy, your shop dude, he's gonna love that because it means once something like that is brought to their attention, it's not a we'll replace that one gasket situation. It's okay, we gotta replace every gasket on this truck now. I never once in my life felt jealous of a diesel mechanic. That's just never been something I've ever felt, ever. Air brake equipped vehicles must have an air use gauge, a supply pressure gauge, at least two brake heaters. An air supply gauge, right? Because that's to tell you how much air is in the tanks. And someone in California absolutely does not need heaters, I think. Let's find out. Correct. Take these earbuds out. I hate wearing earbuds. Yeah, there we go. All vehicles with air brakes have a pressure gauge connected to the air tank. If the vehicle has a dual air brake system, there will be a gauge for each half of the system. Modern air brake systems combines three different systems. They are the service brakes, the parking brake, and the S-cam brakes? No, emergency. Air brakes are really three different braking systems: service brakes, parking brakes, and emergency brakes. There we go. The S-cam is a mechanism which helps control the flow of air to the brake drums, I think. If you must make an emergency stop, you should brake so that you stop, can steer hard while braking hard. Brake, yeah, it's like maybe it said brace, but no, it said brake. Use the full power of the brakes and lock them. Stay in a straight line and can steer. If it's an emergency, you want to apply all of the pressure and stop that truck. So I'm going to say B. No. Stay in a straight line and can steer. You should brake in a way that will keep your vehicle in a straight line and allow you to turn if it becomes necessary. You can use the controlled braking method or the stab braking method. Okay. I guess an emergency situation can be a lot of different things. Whenever I think of that, it's like, I need to stop this truck right now or I'm about to drive into a house fire. I don't know. That's just. And in that situation, you either want to steer out the way or freaking stop the truck. So to me, it's like, lock them wheels up, stop it, stop the truck. If you must make an emergency stop, you should brake so that you stay in a straight line and can steer. You should brake in a way that will keep your vehicle straight in a straight line and allow you to turn if it becomes necessary. You can use the controlled braking method or the stab braking method. The driver must be able to see a warning that is given before air pressure in the service air tanks fall below 60. Low air warning devices, buzzers, buzzer light flag. That's my favorite beer. Should activate before air pressure drops below 60 psi or levels specified by the manufacturer. What if it's above 60? Let's just go ahead and say there is some regulation that makes it so it has to at least be 60. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe other countries, I don't know. People coming down and up from Canada and Mexico with their different ABS warning systems. The most common type of foundation brakes found on heavy vehicles is the disc brakes, wedge drums, S-cam brake. The most common type of foundation brakes found in heavy vehicles is it's the drum brakes, right? The S-cam is part of the braking mechanism. The S-cam doesn't do anything more than regulate the amount of air going into the brake drum, I want to say. And I think the wedge angle comes from, it expands and wedges up against the wall of the drum brake. I'm going to say B, but I fully acknowledge I could be getting this one wrong. No, S-cam brake. Wedge brakes and disc brakes are less common than S-cam brakes. See, I thought the S-cam was part of the drum brake mechanism. Brake chamber, brake shoe release, roller, shoe reacting spring, push rod, adjusting wheel. Well, what am I looking at? Okay, this is a wedge type brake diagram, maybe. You want a bed? There's bed. No. Hmm. The most common type of foundation brakes found on heavy vehicles is S-cam brakes. S-cam brakes. S-cam. this whole test is a scam. I hope not, because I'm going to use this knowledge to go hopefully pass the actual test. So please don't be a scam. When driving down a long, steep hill, you should release the brake when you are 5 miles per hour below your safe speed. Use stab braking. Begin braking when you are, I know it's a snub braking method is used for steep downhill grades. In this method, apply the brakes just hard enough to feel the definite slowdown when your speed has been reduced by to approximately 5 miles per hour below your safe speed, which is the speed limit. No, that's a lie. Your safe speed, release the brakes when your speed has increased to your safe speed. Repeat the process. The modulating control valve is a spring-loaded valve that will let you put on the brakes that will allow you will let you put on the brakes on slowly. It's worded weird. Maybe it's not. I don't know. If the service brakes fail, there's no such thing. Should not be used because it's unsafe. So that wouldn't be there in the first place. There's no such thing. A spring-loaded valve that will let you put on the brakes on slowly if the service brake fails. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, right? No. A spring-loaded valve will let you put on brakes on, like, that is worded so weirdly that I thought it couldn't be an actual answer. Like, am I crazy here? Or is this thing, the answer, not worded really weird? A spring loaded valve that will let you put on the brakes on slowly. Like, that's I guess a typo. In some vehicles, a control handle on the dashboard may be used to apply the spring brakes gradually. This is called a modulating valve. It is spring loaded, so you have a feel for the braking action. The more you move the control lever, the harder the spring brakes come on. They work this way. Good. Okay. They work this way so you can control the spring brakes if the service brakes fail. I think I've only ever seen one tractor that had this lever on it. So it's like, now that I'm really thinking about it, and I do believe it was while I was in training to get my Class A. And I do believe the instructor said, "You see this lever? Never touch it." But that could have just been for training purposes. freaking Texas doesn't have any mountains, so it's not like we would have really had an opportunity to mess up so bad that we would need it. There is a mountain in Texas. It's by around El Paso, just in case nobody knew that. But yeah, there is a mountain in Texas. I just had to say that. So, a module control valve is a thing, is such a thing that exists, and it is a spring loaded valve that will let you put on the brakes on slowly. I hate the way that it's worded. It's driving me crazy. A spring loaded valve that will let you put on the brakes slowly if the service brakes fail. There, I fixed it. I fixed it with my fixing abilities. Which of the following will be true about your brake function if your anti-lock braking system ABS fails? You will still have normal brake functions. You will still have normal brake function and will just need to get the ABS repaired soon. It may cause problems with other mechanical systems and possibly pose a huge fire risk. It will slow your truck to a halt and force you to pull over. You will have no brake function and your truck will be out of control. Which of the following will be true about your brake function if your ABS fails? So, anti-lock, just making sure the ABS isn't air brake system. That's where my brain always goes. And in that case, you would not have any control of the truck. Good luck. You will still have normal brake function and will just need to get the ABS repaired soon. Well, the ABS is part of the brake system, so if it fails, that would imply that you don't have normal brake function because that's part of the brake function, right? It may cause problems with other mechanical systems and possibly pose a huge fire risk. It will slow your truck down to a halt and force you to pull over. You will have no brake function and your truck will be out of control. I want to say B, but it could be A. Ah. The fact that A has the word just in it, because that kind of implies it's not a big deal, right? Like, you just got to do this thing. Like, everyone has made comments like that when they're trying to imply that something is easy. You know, Nike, just do it. That is meant to imply that it's just something you do. It's not a big deal, I think. I'm going to say B, but incorrect. You will still have normal brake function and it will need and will just need to get the ABS repaired soon. Without ABS, you still have normal brake function, drive and brake as you always have. Hmm. I guess I've just never been in that situation. Thankfully, it's a good thing, but good to know. I think I'm going to fail this one. Which of the following is not part of the braking process when you are driving a tractor trailer combination vehicle with an anti lock braking system? Which of the following is not part of the braking process? Brake the same way no matter what you are driving, a vehicle with ABS, a vehicle with a trailer, or something else. When you slow down, you should monitor your tractor and trailer and ease off the brakes to keep control. You should use only the braking necessary to stay safely in control. You should drive faster so that you will be able to keep your trailer and tractor straight. Which of the following is not part of the braking process when you are driving a tractor trailer combination vehicle with anti-lock braking system? What is not part of the braking process? I don't know. I'm honestly not sure, but I'm gonna choose D because you're braking and it wouldn't make sense to accelerate when you're braking, right? So that would not be part of the braking process. You don't hold down on the brake and the accelerator. That's how you start a fire. So I'm going to choose D, but I could be wrong here. Okay. You should not drive faster to keep the tractor and trailer straight. When you drive a vehicle with ABS, you should brake as you always have. In other words, use only the braking force necessary to stop safely and stay in control. Brake the same way regardless of whether you have ABS on the bus, tractor, or trailer, or both. As you slow down, monitor your tractor and trailer and back off the brakes if it is safe to do so, so to stay in control. Which of the following are true about dual air brake systems? Which is true? What thing is true? Usually, one system operates in the front axle and the others operate in the rear axle. If you use a single set, it uses a single set of brake controls. One system is called the primary system and the other is called the secondary system. I'm going to say all of the above is true. Okay. Most heavy duty vehicles use dual air brake systems for safety. A dual air brake system has two separate air brake systems. Whoa. Which use a single set of brake controls, the brake pedal. One system or primary system typically to operates the regular brakes on the rear axle or axles. The other one, the other or secondary system operates the regular brakes on the front axle and possibly one rear axle. How can you tell if your vehicle is equipped with anti-lock braking system, ABS? Check to see if your vehicle is manufactured after 2000. Check if your vehicle was manufactured after 2010. ABS is still optional. Check the vehicle was manufactured after 1998. Look for the thing on the dash, the yellow ABS. Is it optional? I'm going to say 98, but I honestly have no clue. Right, okay, that was a guess. The Department of Transportation requires that ABS be on air brake vehicles built on or after March 1st, 1998. Good to know. Spring brakes are brakes that come on automatically on a truck or tractor when the PSI drops too low, made up of powerful springs that are held back by air pressure while you are driving, not going to take full effect until your PSI drops to a certain range, typically 20 to 30. Yeah, I think it's all of the above. Bingo. Spring brakes are important backup systems. Powerful springs that automatically apply the brakes if they sense the air pressure has been lost for some reason, such as a leak. Good, good, good. In the event of a brake system failure, the emergency brake system uses blank to stop the vehicle. Only the parking brakes, parts of the service brakes, and parking brakes, only the service brakes. Well, in the event of a brake system failure, your service brakes failed. The emergency brake system uses blank to stop the feeling. Stop it! No. Stop the vehicle. Only the parking brakes. No. Parts of the service brakes and parking brakes. The emergency brake system uses parts of the service and parking brake system to stop the vehicle in a brake system failure. I thought the service brakes were. See, I think my mind is just too broad with these types of things. Because if you say system failure, the brake system failure, that to me implies the service brakes straight up aren't there anymore. Like they failed, right? So in that instance, the air was probably lost and the spring brakes would engage, which are also the parking brakes, automatically. You wouldn't really have a choice in the matter. So, what exactly does this mean by failure that doesn't include the brakes failing? Right? Like some of these make me feel like I'm going crazy. And I think it's just because I'm looking at it too broadly. Failure implies failure, as in a cease of working. And your service brakes are the brakes you apply while driving down the road. So to me, parts of the service brakes wouldn't be used because those don't exist anymore. It's a failure. Guess not. Guess not. Guess not. Repeatedly pressing and releasing fanning the brake pedal may result in a loss of air pressure, a buildup of brake air pressure, a loss. If the spring brakes are on, when should you push the brake pedal? Only when driving downhill? Never. Only on slippery roads. So wouldn't the spring brakes man, I don't, because I thought the spring brakes were the parking brakes. I'm going to say never, but I don't know. Okay. Never push the brake pedal down when the spring brakes are on. If you do, the brakes could be damaged by the combined forces of the springs and the air pressure. You will know that your brakes are fading if the brakes the brake feels spongy when you apply pressure. So like the brake pedal, you release the brake pedal and your speed increases. You have to press the brake pedal harder than you usually do. It's that, right? Yes. A converter dolly with anti-lock brakes is required to have a yellow lamp on the left side, a white lamp on the left side, a white lamp on the right side. Well, first we got to find out. I'm pretty sure I know what this is. They use them in on drop yards in distribution centers. I don't know if they still call the people that drive them this, but they used to be referred to as yard dogs because they were just on the yard freaking collecting trailers and stuff. So they were the yard dogs. I'm pretty sure that's, let me make sure I'm thinking of the right thing. No, no, I was not. I guess this is so you can hook a fifth wheel to a mechanism that you can then hook to your normal truck hitch. So in that case, where would you want the, oh, I, that was an accident. A yellow lamp on the left side. Converter dollies built on or after March 1st, 1998 are required to have anti-lock brakes. These dollies will have a yellow lamp on the left side of the dolly. Good to know. Yellow lamp left side of the dolly. Yellow lamp on the left side of a converter dolly made after 1998 with an anti-lock brake system. Which of the following is the most important thing about hard braking? Disconnecting the steering axle brakes will keep your vehicle in a straight line during emergency braking. Don't lock the wheels for longer than an instant. Never do it without downshifting first. Well, if you're in the situation that you're having to hard brake, I don't think shifting is a priority. It's kind of too late, right? Don't lock wheels for longer than an instant. Disconnecting the steering axle brakes will help keep your vehicle in a straight line. I don't. Steering axle brakes. So that's your front axle where your steer tires are, which has a minimum thread depth of 4/32 of an inch. Just so you people know, because I know you were curious. 2/32 of an inch for everything else. So how would you disconnect your steer axle brakes in an emergency braking situation? Which of the following is the most important thing about hard braking. Disconnecting the steering axle brakes will help keep your vehicle in a straight line during, I'm going to say, don't lock your brakes for longer than an instant. Okay. Emergency braking does not mean pushing down on the brake pedal as hard as you can. That will only keep the wheels locked up and cause a skid. If the wheels are skidding, you cannot control the vehicle. In controlled braking, you lock the wheels for a short period of time, can turn sharply, brake in a straight line. In controlled braking, you lock the wheels up for a short period of time, can turn sharply, brake in a straight line. I'm going to go A. No. Brake in a straight line. You apply the brakes as hard as you can without locking the wheels. Keep steering wheel movement very small while doing this. If you need to make a larger steering adjustment, or if the wheels lock, release the brakes, reapplying the brakes as soon as you can. So wouldn't that count as lock the wheels for a short period of time? A short period of time is a moment, is it not? Was the last question not about only locking your wheels for a moment, which is a short period of time in an emergency braking situation? Once again, I'm thinking too broadly, I think. If oil and water collect in the air tank, what could happen to the brakes? The brakes could heat up, the brakes could lock up, the brakes could fail. I want to say the brakes could fail, but like, am I thinking too broadly again? Because I'm thinking you let so much oil and water collect in your air tank that the brakes fail. Just straight up. It was already teetering on the edge of failure when you began your trip, and through the course of driving, your air tanks collected more air and thus collecting more oil and water to the point that everything fails. But I could answer it and be like, just because your tanks are full of oil and water doesn't mean your brakes will fail, even though that has been a consistent drumbeat across every part of all of this. Like, what an idiot. What a dunce. He thought that brake failure happens whenever that thing we told you causes brake failure happens. What an idiot. I'm going to say brake failure because that just seems like the right answer, but I could be thinking too broadly. And it'll be like, just because you have air or water in your tanks and it's negative 10 degrees outside, why would your brakes fail in that situation? But I'm going to do it. I'm going to answer that. Oh, thank God. Okay. Compressed air usually has some water and some compressor oil in it, which is bad for the air brake system. For example, the water can freeze in cold weather and can cause brake failure. Okay. All right. Thank you. S-cam drum brakes have an S-cam in each brake chamber. Why is it called an S-cam? Oh my God. Um, uh, um, um, um. It's shaped like the letter S. It makes the braking shoes move move in an S-shaped path that they turn, like roll. It is constantly spinning whenever the wheel is spinning. Even if that were the case, why would, I guess, spin cam? I think it's just because it's shaped like the letter S. That helps regulate the air flowing through it so it's not just a straight line. So I'm going to say A. Okay. Why else would it be called that? You know? The S cam is S shaped. The S cam forces the brake shoes away from one another and presses them against the inside of the brake drum. Stop to test the air service brakes. Stop the vehicle, put in a low gear, depress the brake pedal, and then gently pull against the brakes. Brake firmly while slowly moving forward. Brake firmly while slowly moving backward. It's A, right? No. Brake firmly while slowly moving forward. That's the same as A. Pull forward at 5 miles per hour, apply the service brakes and stop. Check to see that the vehicle does not pull to either side and that it stops when the brake is applied. Stop the vehicle, put it in a low gear, depress the brake pedal, then gently pull against the brakes. What's the difference? What's the difference I'm missing here? Like, am I to test the service brakes whenever I come to a stoplight? Or coming up to a stoplight? If then you're just constantly testing your service brakes. I'll explain my rationale. You stop the vehicle, put it in low gear, which is like first. First. First is a low gear. depress the brake pedal, then gently pull against the brakes. I was going to say what I answered would be incorrect if it specifically says test the tractor air brakes or surface brakes. What I chose would make a lot of sense if you're testing the air brakes on your trailer. But the way the question is phrased, it seems like A and B are the same, right? I remember when I worked at Stevens Transportation, when you were on the yard in Mesquite, Texas, you had to keep the truck in first gear because it wouldn't, and not really push the accelerator because you weren't going to go over 5 miles an hour. And the explanation for why I was wrong is pull forward at 5 miles an hour. That's why on the yard there in Mesquite, you had to go into first gear and let the gear pull you forward because it wasn't going to go more than 5 miles an hour. I'm missing something. Let's hope that don't pop up on the test at this station. When can you leave your truck unattended without first applying the parking brakes or chalking the wheels? When it's on its side because you just flipped that bitch? Sorry about that. Never. If you only will be away for a second, no, not even a second, a few minutes. If you will be conducting your pre-trip inspection, yeah, just go check the tail lights. Don't worry about the trailer, checking you too. Never. Correct. Never leave your vehicle unattended without applying the parking brakes or choking the wheels. Choking. Choking. I know we always used to call it chalking. So I just assumed there was an A in there, but maybe it's choking, because I'm pretty sure it's choking now. So violent. Your vehicle might roll away and cause injury or damage. I know I failed, but let's go ahead and calculate it. 72, so close. You scored 72%, and we know you will nail it next time. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Perhaps. It is within the realm of possibilities. Okay. I'll be back. I'm going to stop streaming for right now. I need to eat some lunch. I'm pretty hungry. Maybe if I had eaten first, I wouldn't have been distracted and I would have gotten a 100. Or at least somewhere in the 90s. But I won't be gone long. Or maybe I will. I don't know. I'm really bad about that. I say I'll be back later and then I don't stream again for like a month. That's later, isn't it? But peace out, y'all.